Now, a few days ago, I posted a video, told you guys I was going to break it down in a future video. This is that breakdown. I did ask you also on that video to let me know what you thought was wrong in the comments. Loads of you commented, absolutely brilliant, and lots of you were absolutely 100% spot on. I'm going to cover a lot of these points in this video. I may miss some, I may have overlooked some. If I have, and you feel that I have, please do let us know in the comments, not just for me, but also for other people that stumble across this video, that we can educate them as well on what they should or should not be doing in these situations.
You are?
I'm just going to video this for you.
We see you walking along the street together very slowly. It doesn't appear to have much purpose to your walking.
Okay, so the first thing I found very concerning about this interaction was the fact that PCU 3334 took it upon himself to decide that somebody walking down the street had no purpose to be walking down the street. I mean, his words were, "We see you walking along the street together very slowly. Doesn't appear to have much purpose to your walking." Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but normally when people are walking, they're walking to a specific location. Therefore, they have a purpose. So even if someone is out for a general walk or even for exercise, they have a purpose and will eventually return home. And I find it highly disturbing that a police constable would or even could consider that somebody simply walking down the street has no purpose to their walking. This may well be nitpicking of me, but to use that alone as a reason to take note of somebody doesn't seem logical in my mind. However, PCU 3334 goes on to explain other reasons that he stopped a man.
And I think one of you, or both of you, between you, looks back at our carrier.
I was just reading what that meant on the side.
Fair enough. That might be
Territorial support group. I've never seen that before.
It's a bit out of place compared to how other people react when we walk past.
No, not really.
Both of you looked back at our carrier. It's a bit out of place compared to how other people react when we walk past. Now, I'll forgive him for saying when we walked past, when they were in fact in a carrier. He's clearly confusing himself while desperately trying to conjure up a legitimate reason for stopping the men.
It's being the same as all
of
other
those
citizens.
reasons are the reasons why our attention's been drawn to you.
So together, all of these reasons are the reasons why our attention has been drawn to you. So walking along the street, looking at a police van is now apparently a reason to make police believe you're acting suspiciously. Now, I've seen hundreds of videos and indeed have experienced myself the reaction of looking at a police vehicle when they drive past. One reason is because they are normally highly visible, and indeed this van is highly visible with its Battenberg markings, which does draw the eye to it, as they are designed to do. So what I would call a completely normal reaction of seeing a highly decorated vehicle is apparently suspicious to PCU 3334.
And the reason why I've just come over is just carry out what's called a stopping account, just to see what you're up to, make sure everything's all okay, make sure you don't need police for anything, and make sure you're not up to no good, because there are quite a lot of people up to no good around here as well.
His cops explaining of why they've actually stopped is word salad of the highest order, trying to make out now that he has stopped to check the welfare of the men, as PCU 3334 says himself, to see what you're up to, make sure everything's all okay. Make sure you don't need the police for anything, but of course couldn't resist using the good old, "this is a high crime area." Now at this point, if I hadn't already, I would have simply said, "Thank you for your concern, but I don't need your assistance," and then turned around and tootled off. If the police had a genuine reason for stopping the men, they would not have used a stop and account at the start, and if they then went to put hands on me at this point, it would be grounds for a claim against them for assault and battery. To be clear, if they had put hands on me at this point, I personally would allow them to carry out what they intended to do, but make it clear that I don't consent, I'm not happy, and I will be complaining. Reacting at this point can only lead to issues for you, especially with the MET TSG, who we all know are the same lot who like to hit people with batons at peaceful protests, so they'll have no qualms in going hands-on, full force on you, while screaming stop resisting to try and back up their reasonings for going hand-on. But before we go on, let's just take a look at stop and account information, because although many of you do already know, some of you may not. Here are some explanations of stop and account powers from libertyhumanrights.org, stopwatch.org, and from the College of Policing's very own guidance on the matter. Starting with liberty. Police officers and police community support officers, PCSOs, can ask you questions just like anyone else. Stop and account is when the police ask you questions about who you are and what you're doing in an area. This is different to stop and search. Of course, just like any other member of the public, they have every right to ask you questions such as, what is your name? Where do you live? What are you doing here? Where are you going? What are you carrying? But again, just like if any other member of the general public asks you the same questions, you do not have to answer them. Under stop and account, you have the legal right to simply walk away and refuse to answer the police, and the police are not allowed to touch you, search you, force you to stay or arrest you, unless they pull the Section 50 of the Police Reform Act, which allows the police to ask you for your name and address if they believe you are or have been engaging in antisocial behaviour. Failing to provide those details can then lead to your arrest until they get those details. However, upon giving those details, the offence is over, and you should then be allowed to walk free, on the proviso, of course, that you haven't been acting antisocially. Stopwatch, however, gives a little more information, which makes this particular stop and account, seem a little more sinister to me. Along with giving the same information as liberty, such as in a stop and account situation, police cannot detain you, i.e. make you stay with them, nor are you legally required to answer any questions they might ask you. Stopwatch also adds a condition that you should not be stopped solely on the basis of your age, race, gender, sexual orientation, disability, religion or faith, the way you look or dress, or the language you speak, because you have committed an offence in the past. Now, it seems to me that these constables stopped the men based entirely on the way they look, as you will soon see. And the College of Policing's own guidance says that stop and account is not a legal power. It can be used in any circumstance as long as it is not based on protected characteristics. However, this means that there is no corresponding power to detain a person, to talk to them or ask them to account for themselves. They cannot be arrested for not stopping to talk to the officer or answer their questions. But this particular piece of information from the College of Police does seem to miss the part about not being able to use failure to engage as a reason to then escalate the situation into something more, which they are not allowed to do. And to be clear, this breakdown isn't simply about the police's behaviour. I will be picking up on some of the things the man filming gets wrong, such as continuing the conversation with PCU 3334, as you will now see.
We're just going to get food.
Okay, no problem. And do you live around here?
No, from Liverpool.
So you've arrived from Liverpool recently, or?
Been here for 2 weeks.
Okay.
We're leaving today.
Are you both from Liverpool, are you?
Yeah.
Okay, no worries. How comes you've come down here? Anything
For
nice?
training.
Training before, anything nice?
I'm a professional athlete.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Okay, what do you do?
Mixed martial arts.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. I come down to train and I was on a TV show.
You was on a TV show?
Yeah.
Oh, right, I see. No problem. Do you have any ID on you then?
No, I don't, you know.
No? So you've come all the way from Liverpool with no ID?
I haven't got no ID because you guys have got it.
So you've come all the way from Liverpool with no ID, and do you have any ID on you? Initially, the guy didn't say he doesn't own any ID, he simply responds to the question, do you have any on you? But PCU 3334 tries to make the guy look suspicious, when in fact he could have simply left his ID in a hotel room. Nobody is obliged to carry ID with them at all times. This is, of course, not 1940s Germany.
Your papers, please.
Even when the police tell you that you should have your driving licence on you when you're driving, that is not also a arrestable offence or a reason to escalate things. The police do advise that you leave all of your driving documents indoors, not within your vehicle, to save them being in there if your vehicle gets stolen. So even under that situation, you don't have to give them ID, you just have to identify yourself.
How comes?
I just got out of jail 6 weeks ago. Yeah.
What was that for?
Talking too much leads to information that can be used against you. I mean, why on earth this guy just told the police he's just got out of jail? Oh, I have no idea. But you can see the way PCU 3334 shifts his position as he realises that he could now potentially have a reason to escalate the situation.
I was on the run for like 9 years. That's what the TV show was about.
Oh, right, okay.
I was basically I used martial arts to turn my life around, and then now they brought me on this show to speak about like what I used to do before to what I do now.
And that's why you've come down here for that show?
Yeah, it was the Piers Morgan show. Yeah. And you guys have still got my passport confiscated.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Was
I've
it
got
the
no
Met,
idea.
Met Police or Liverpool?
Liverpool Police.
Merseyside?
Yeah, Merseyside Police.
Right, I see.
Yeah.
Okay, no problem. I'll take your details in if that's okay.
Police simply don't even listen to their own guidance, claiming that he is now going to take the man's details, even with zero powers to do so.
I don't really want to give you my details, to be honest, mate.
Which, if was really the case, then he shouldn't have engaged with the constable at all. He has already given away enough information for the police to find out who he is. But this next bit of cop-splaining is absolutely mint.
I mean, a lot of the time, if people haven't got anything to worry about or anything,
I have got nothing to worry about.
then they're happy to comply. It just makes the encounter
I'd rather not.
sweeter and easier.
I'd rather not.
Right, okay. Listen, there's no power for me to enforce on you to give me your details, so I'm not going to get silly about it.
Yeah.
If you've nothing to hide, you've nothing to fear. Bit of psychology going on there, trying to make the guy think that he is looking suspicious when he could simply have walked away at the beginning of this interaction. I'm not going to get silly about it, but then get silly about it. I mean, there's always a but with this lot. Basically, this plot feels like he's getting shown up and obviously can't allow that to happen, so he escalates things himself, making the guy feel like he now must give his details. I'm glad that he has told the police he doesn't want to, although it should have been a solid no, you're not having them.
But there's obviously, it might suggest to me there's a reason why you don't want to.
There is no reason, I'd just rather not. I've been through a lot with the police, I don't really trust the police. I'd rather not give you my details, unless I'm legally obliged to, which I know I'm not.
Legally, no. I'd say another reason why we ask, more for admin reasons. So.
Admin reasons. It's safe to say that they don't just record their encounters. They will and do record information in their logs regarding people that they haven't had an encounter with. If they recognise you and you're driving a new car, for example, they will note that down. If they see you near an address that's known to them, they will also note that down, or with somebody that they know. Or if they see you with new tattoos or scars, they will write this down and make a note of it without even engaging with you.
So we carry a handwritten log.
Yeah.
Every time we go out in one of these vans, and we record every encounter with every person that we have. Say you've made a complaint about me in 2 weeks' time, it's a way that they can help locate me and find out who the officer was who dealt with you.
Yeah.
For record purposes, statistical purposes, things like that. So it's not necessarily, I just need your name because I'm trying to catch you out or make sure you're not one.
No, I know, you're just trying to do your job. I know that, but I'm not legally obliged to give you my name, so I'm not going to.
Bearing in mind also that this will have some kind of a CAD number, will have some kind of a reference number attached to this stop, so therefore he does not need to give his name, providing he gets a job number or a CAD number from the police dealing with it. That way they'll be able to find out exactly who was there at the time and who done what, without him actually giving his name.
Okay, no problem. No problem. How come you've got quite a big thick coat on today then?
Because we've been out since 6 in the morning, and this morning it was cold.
Right, okay.
Yeah, we've just come from the gym.
Okay.
Now you can see PCU 3334's brain working, trying to justify his requests. Lots of ums and ers. Now, failing to get anywhere with the stop and account power, he now moves on to questioning the guy about his jacket. Now, we have seen incidents where a black youth was stopped because he was wearing a jacket in the warm weather, but even when this lad explained to the police that it was colder in the morning, the police still ended up harassing him. This was a story I covered quite a while back and one that got all the social justice warriors riled up, but I don't recall anyone making a fuss over this interaction.
Alright, and have you got anything on you that you shouldn't have?
No, I haven't.
No?
No.
Okay. Well, your mate's being searched in a minute, so...
Now, it was at this point I expected PCU 3334 to say something like, "We're going to search you as your mate could have passed something to you," or some other equally ridiculous bullshit, but I was surprised that he didn't. Yet.
You're still cold, are you?
Not really, it's a bit warm now, like.
Yeah.
What do you want me to do? I've got it now.
Whereabouts you staying, David?
Yeah, Travel Lodge in Bethnal Green.
Okay.
Again, telling the police where he is staying, along with all of the other information he has already given, is way more than enough to find out who he is without even giving his bloody name. What a ridiculous thing to do. And I don't care if he does do MMA, he's a dick for giving any of the info he has, as per Rice and Connolly 1966, which is an English legal precedent holding that there is no strict general legal duty to assist a police officer prior to any possible arrest or caution, with even basic police inquiries, nor to accompany the officer to a requested location. I'm going to put a link to this page in the description. This is quite an interesting one as it explains Rice v Connolly. It also explains Collins v Wilcock 1984, and also a couple of other situations that have occurred where people have gone to court. For example, Collins and Wilcock, a policewoman, PC Collins, wanted to question a woman, Wilcock, in the street and took hold of her arm. Wilcock resisted and was charged with assaulting a constable in execution of her duty. The High Court said since PC Collins did not claim to have been exercising a specific power to stop and search, her taking Wilcock's arm was itself an assault, taking her outside the execution of her duty and entitling Wilcock to use reasonable force in self-defence, which is of course what I said earlier on in the video. I would walk away, and if the police officer, constable, whatever you want to call them, then grabs hold of you, before telling you that they are stopping you, detaining you for a search, then that would be an assault, and you would be perfectly within your right to make a civil claim against them, or even criminal in some cases.
It's next to the gym.
You paying for that yourself, or?
Yeah, man.
And how much does that come to for the whole 2 weeks? What made you pick that one?
Every day was different, so on the weekend it was like $250 a night, but then on a weekday it was only 60-80 quid a night.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
To me, that was PCU 3334's way of trying to instigate a how did you afford that line of questioning, which then could lead to a search for money or drugs.
It is what it is.
Fair enough. Obviously for data protection and stuff, I don't like to say while I'm recording as well.
Yeah.
He's not giving his details.
Alright. Hi, you alright?
Right, mate.
Were you going to go in here?
No, we were just looking because there was shit on the wall.
Oh, I was going to say, you stopped and then sort of walked as if you were going to go in and realised it was closed.
Now let's start this section with what a fucking disgrace PC Fawcett is with his worn out hat that's been bent into the shape of an SS officer. I'm surprised that the Met have allowed him to go out onto the streets to interact with, but no, actually I'm not surprised. He looks a fucking disgrace.
I didn't even see you pull up there till you called me. I only seen you down there, and even he said, how come you were staring at the van? And he's probably already told you, we were looking at the tactical support group, and I asked him, what does that mean?
Try that one more time. Have another read of that.
Oh, territorial.
There we go, mate.
Sorry.
Now to be fair, I think many people would take a second look at the shit on the wall. Not because they want to, but because they couldn't believe their eyes the first time. They could have looked and gone, what the fuck's that? And looked again. I mean, the police should be taking samples of the shite for forensics to find out who did it, not harassing people walking down the street wearing a fucking coat. PC Fawcett also tries to belittle the man for saying tactical support group instead of territorial, which certainly isn't in line with their code of conduct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where are we from?
Liverpool.
What's it like up there, nice?
It's alright.
What are we down here?
Training.
Training for...
I'm an MMA fighter.
Oh, right, okay.
And I was on a TV show as well down here.
Oh, right, what TV show?
Do you know Piers Morgan?
Now PC Fawcett asks the same questions as PCU 3334, looking for inconsistencies. At this point, the guy should have simply told him to ask his colleague, although he should have said nothing to either and told Fawcett he wasn't answering his questions. In fact, this interaction should have been over ages ago by the guy simply walking away. I have cut out some of the recording to make this video a little bit shorter, but you can of course see the full video on the channel link in the description.
At least I'm honest with
I spoke to
you.
my colleague. From standing here talking to you, I have been able to smell cannabis coming from between the two of us. And that's
not on
even
us.
when I've given the opportunity for other people to walk past and stuff, other people to like leave.
Have you smelled cannabis on me?
Well, I can smell it in the air as well, mate. It's
Not on
lingering.
you can-
when there's
can't smell
nobody else
cannabis
around,
on
so I'll
me,
give you
mate.
the benefit of that.
2.5 minutes of telling PC Fawcett all about himself has now given PCU 3334 time to think of a reason to search him, which wouldn't have happened had he simply walked off at the beginning of this interaction. Never ask a police constable to question their colleague. It won't happen. they will back up their colleague even if they know that they're wrong.
So I'll give you the benefit of that. That one ground alone isn't one that I'm going to use to search someone for drugs. However, that coupled with your behaviour, okay, combined,
what's wrong with my
specifically
behaviour?
you, because I'm dealing with you, the fact that you did, upon seeing us, look back a couple of times, you've suddenly sort of turned around when you've probably realised that we're closing in and maybe coming over to speak to you.
You're just making this up now, mate.
I'm not making anything up.
I'm not making anything up, honest. I'm not the only one who can see this pathetic attempt to reason their next move. It is straight out of the police handbook and is some of the biggest bullshit you will hear from the police trying to reason their actions. I do believe this video was taken before things changed and police were told that they can't use the smell cannabis on its own as grounds for a search, although it does seem to me that PCU 3334 is trying to get around that condition by telling the man his behaviour, walking down the street, is another reason for his concern. However, completely failed to mention this at the start of this interaction, which would have made sure that the guy couldn't legally walk away if he wanted to. Hence why he should have walked away. And this suggests to me that everything coming out of PCU 334's mouth is probably the reason that he can smell something funny.
You've turned around.
This is fabrication, that mate. All of that's
when my
a load
colleague
of
asked you what you was doing over here, I mean, you know, it's not in the best condition, is it?
Lad, I was looking at this shit on the wall and saying to me, mate, look at that.
Okay, well that's...
We don't need to
that,
watch
in my
over our
opinion,
shoulder.
that, in
This
my
is why no
opinion,
one
is a
wants to
little
deal
bit-
with you,
is
because
a
look
bit
at the
of an
stuff you're
abnormal
saying.
reaction, because not many other people, again, are reacting to that when they're walking past
We
it.
did.
So I'm not saying that you're lying, but...
Yeah, I'm not saying you're lying, but I have to make out you're lying for my bullshit reasoning to take my next action to work.
All of these things combined, the fact that I can smell cannabis and your behaviour, and the fact you're in an area where there's quite a high
with my
use
behaviour,
of
mate.
cannabis and quite a lot of drug crime.
That's
we're
nothing to
gonna
do with
detain
me.
you for a
We're not
search
from
for
here.
drugs.
So I'm being detained right now.
Yeah, you're detained for a search for drugs, and it's under Section
And you're not
23 of the
gonna
Use
find
of
no
Drugs
drugs.
Act. Alright, I'm PC Shenray from Chadwell Heath TSG. You're entitled to a copy which you can have now within 3 months. You are detained while I search you. Again, another reason is you're wearing quite a thick coat and it's...
So I'm
it's
being
currently
detained because I'm
21
wearing a
degrees
thick
and it's
coat.
sunny. That's
You just
one
say
of my
that.
grounds.
One of the reasons, and the other one's me behaviour.
Now, Section 23, Misuse of Drugs Act 1971, provides police with the power to search persons for controlled drugs and detain them for the purposes of a search if they have reasonable cause to suspect unlawful possession. I can't see any reasonable cause that would make these police think to themselves that these two have drugs on them, especially after they've already searched the other guy and found nothing. So in my opinion, this was completely bogus. And what further increases my suspicion of this constable's, as if I need anything further to increase my suspicion, is that he initially said the behaviour and the smell, then went on to say that the fact he looked at shit on the wall and was probably disgusted by it, and now the fact he's wearing a coat. Where were these reasons when he first said he was going to search him? And I'm going to skip some of this search, but did want to draw your attention to the fact that PCU 3334 says to the guy, if you're unhappy with our services that you've received today, you can complain. Now, it's long been known that the police call us customers. We are customers to them, nothing more, nothing less. We're not individuals to be treated fairly and with respect. We are a customer, a number.
If you have any
Smoke
questions,
cannabis.
please feel free to ask me. Do you have anything on you that you shouldn't have?
No.
Okay.
I'd definitely be putting a complaint in on this, like, because this isn't on this, mate.
That's absolutely fine. You're more than entitled to complain if you're not happy with the services that you've received today.
Obviously not. It's against this, like,
Another thing, obviously, you're wearing what looks like to be maybe to a balaclava. What is the purpose of that?
What do you mean?
Well, I've basically meant exactly how I've just asked that question. I don't know.
Using it to keep the dreads neat. Is that alright with you?
Well, you've given me a count for it, so that's fine.
Now, after searching a guy and finding absolutely nothing, he questions him about his choice of headgear, which in this instance is a balaclava. Granted, not everybody wears one of those for a stroll around the town, but is it necessarily suspicious? I do know people who wear one rolled up like a beanie, and this time, because PCU 3334 found nothing and knows he was out of order for escalating the interaction, he suddenly appears to simply accept the guy's explanation for the balaclava, but didn't accept anything else that he said earlier on. Now, if they had genuinely been concerned about the behaviour of these two and the fact they allegedly could smell cannabis, why did they not ask him to remove the hat? Because they had to try and blag themselves into a search that failed, and now they want to get this guy away as quickly as possible. Now, I did ask on my other uploads to let me know what you saw wrong with this search by the Met's finest. Many of you did, but let me know if you think I've missed anything in this particular video in the comments. Again, not necessarily just for me, but for people that might stumble across this video looking for information, and then they can know themselves. But please do, if you cite anything, please do put a link to the information. So Rice versus Connolly, put a link to that. If you're going to talk about stop and search, if you're going to talk about pace, put a link to that so that people can go and verify this information themselves. Thank you for watching.